Hey there, good morning. Happy Monday. It's April. I hope everybody had a great Easter last week. My kids just got back to school, so I feel like a real live human again, not having to raise my little babies. I have Miss Natalie B here from Keller Williams. How are you?
I'm great.
I
Thank
appreciate you coming on today. It was a little short notice.
That's okay.
So thanks for being a good sport. I had this idea. I had some clients who found me online on Facebook a couple of months ago, and we got started on their process. And like during the process, the husband ended up mentioning to me, "Hey, like we chose to do business with you because of your videos online." And I didn't know like anybody watched these all that much, so I'm glad that like they're giving some value. And so I thought it would be a good time to talk about what it really takes to buy a home. This market is a little bit crazy. Natalie, how long have you been in the business?
A little over 2 years.
Yeah.
This go round.
This go around. And then before,
About a year and a half, 12 years ago.
12 years ago. So you've seen a market 12 years ago, you've seen a market now, and I've been in the business over 12 years. So I've seen lots of things happen. And this is probably, I would say, the craziest market I've been a part of. I think as time goes on, everything gets a little harder, right?
Well, I don't know if you saw the paper today, but we have the biggest month so far ever,
Wow.
which is increased over February and increased over February, March of last year.
Yeah.
So it's just not stopping, even
Yeah.
though we're at a 1.9 month turnaround.
Which is extremely short. But pre-COVID, we would sometimes see houses sit on the market for 4, 6, 8 months sometimes, depending on all kinds of things, right? But like that was a long turnaround time, right? So now when we talk around turnaround, it means like houses are sitting less than 30 days, which means people are making offers right away, and it just takes
multiple offers.
multiple offers, and then it just takes a couple of weeks for the home loan process to go through. Even cash takes a couple of weeks. And so that's why we say 1.9, but really they go live and they go down right away. So it doesn't give you guys a lot of time to do it. So it's probably more important now in today's market than it ever has been, to really be prepared to buy a house and know really the steps. And I see, like when I Google how to buy a house online, there's like tons of information, and some super accurate and some's not, right? And when we have clients that are trying to like educate themselves, we think that's great that they're doing the homework, but we want to make sure that they're getting accurate information. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about how to make that happen. And so me and Natalie were brainstorming today, and she helped me come up with some topics that she thinks that will either be super helpful or like questions that get asked you a lot, probably, right?
Right.
And all kinds of things. So like the first thing we're going to talk about is how to pick your lender. Above and beyond, lots of people say, I just want like the lowest rate and the lowest fees. And then that normally leads to maybe not great service.
Right.
So talk about how to pick your lender and maybe the difference between like an internet lender and a local live mortgage lender.
Right.
Just give us like a little sneak peek when, that's always my favorite topic, quite honestly. When somebody comes to you and they're using an internet lender, what's your first reaction to it?
Well, I tell them that I have a team of people, and I even have a team of lenders, because I try to pair the personality of the buyer to the personality of one of the lenders. And basically, when you look at pricing, give or take, it's all about the same, but when they go to a lender that's online who is no personal interaction at all, the online people have no idea what's going on in our market, much less the personalities of, the people that they're working with. So it makes it extremely difficult. I also tell them too, and it's not to downplay banks, but banks aren't much different than online bankers. Online lenders, because it just takes forever, as opposed to having somebody local who's, knows what's going on in the market, knows the agent. So therefore, there's a lot of trust there. And that's the main thing, is the trust.
Yeah, so I love that you use the word team. I run the Complete Mortgage team, right? Because I know that like it takes more than just me to get the home process done, the buying process done. And so I love that you use that word because it does, like, it kind of takes an army around you to make
Right.
it happen. And so great verbiage. So when you're using somebody that's like not a part of your team, it makes it harder to
It
make it
does.
happen because the communication, and especially when you use somebody that's like not familiar with our area, so they don't know again really how to make things happen. So we're going to talk about that, like a more deep dive on that, and then the next week we're going to do the difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved. And in this market, that's super important because if you are submitting an offer on a house, you want it to be the best offer you can make, not just in dollar amount, but actually doing the work up front. So we're going to want to educate you guys on the difference between being pre-qualified and pre-approved. If your lender is not asking for income documentation and assets before giving you a pre-approval, then like there's a problem.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter like if you don't show some verifications.
Right, because we need the pre-approval letter along with the contract before we submit it to
Right.
the listing agent.
Yeah, and so it's really hard in this market when you're going up against multiple people. So somebody might be super prepared and has all their documentation into the lender versus someone who just allowed you to pull credit.
Right.
So we want to talk about how that strengthens an offer and whatnot. Right. And the next one is like how to make an offer. Just sort of what you guys specialize in as far as real estate agents.
That is our expertise
Mhm.
as agents. And what makes us so successful is because we know the market, we have tools to pull the comps, and our clients need to trust us and making a good offer, because it's a waste of time, especially in this market today. If you're going to just put some lowball offer in there, it's not even worth the time in the paperwork, which does take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so what's happening today is all of these multiple offers, and people are putting, over asking price and over this. And, we were just talking about this, that the house has to appraise. And if it appraises for $10,000 less, do you have that $10,000 cash if that seller will not go down?
Yeah. And so we really want to talk about, especially now, how to make an offer. Like what can the house support? What can you financially afford?
Right.
What's the best thing? We talk a lot on here about real estate is your biggest asset. You put a lot of money into it as far as a down payment and closing costs. It's where you live. That's where you pay. You no longer paying rent, you're paying your mortgage. And so you're investing in an asset.
Right.
And real estate can really be used for you in the long haul. I read somewhere about a year ago that the number one asset people have is their house, and they use that for their retirement. Like instead of investing financially into a 401k, a lot of people do it through their mortgage. And so we want to make sure that I don't think that's the best thing to do, quite honestly. I'm not a financial advisor. But you
are building a nest egg in that equity.
Yeah. So if that's your plan and you know that like this is all I can afford right now is my home, I can't put my money somewhere else, that you are making a smart financial decision, and it is a great offer and it fits the needs for you right now.
Right.
Yeah. And then next is like, I'm under contract. Like once you make an offer and you're under contract, well, then what?
Well, then we go through the steps. You have X amount of days to get your inspections done. And once the inspection's done and you get the report back, you go through it with your agent, and then you pick and choose what you definitely want the sellers to repair. Then we have to send them paperwork that they have 3 days to respond. And then we have 3 days to respond back to them that we will proceed with the sale.
It's almost like a second renegotiation.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
You make an offer for this, and then you have an inspection to figure out the status of that house, the quality of the home, the condition of the home,
appliances, roof.
Yeah. And it may look one way, but once you dig into it, there may be something else. And so you kind of get to renegotiate.
Right.
Sometimes it's a dollar amount, sometimes it's a repair, but there are other things you have to like renegotiate something. So it's not just like one and done. You kind of have to go through these steps.
Right. And once the buyer proceeds with the sale, the seller has up until 5 days prior to closing to get these items done.
Yeah.
So they're not done immediately.
Yeah.
But they've been agreed upon. It's in writing, and then we move forward.
Yeah.
And then once we've decided to move forward, then we get back with the lender and the appraisal's ordered.
And then, really, once
we
you
all get on our knees.
once we go through inspections and you're going to move forward, the sale is like really when the loan process gets like down and dirty, right? All the documentation is gathered, all of it's reviewed. We comb through it with a fine tooth comb, and then we submit it to underwriting, right? And I say that underwriting, I use this line all the time, is like the judge, jury, and Jesus himself. Like all the things have to be reviewed and looked at. And so we're going to do an entire session just on underwriting, like who they are, what they're about, what they're looking for, because it's like this person in the back that you don't see
ever.
That you can't get to. You can only get to me and my team, and they're like in the way back. And so it's a bit scary.
This is when you have to trust the process.
Yeah. And I always say, like, underwriting, like I could never be an underwriter, right? Because I'm like such a soft heart. Like I want everyone to have a house. But underwriters, like, that's not their job to give everybody a house. It's to make sure that we're following all the mortgage guidelines and we're getting all the documentation to make the loan really solid, and protect the lender, which, like, I want to protect my company. I work for a great company that does great things, and I want everyone to buy a house. And so when you build relationships with people, sometimes we can get clouded because we just want the best for people. And that's not really underwriters' jobs, right? They really have to be a black and white kind of person.
Right.
And, look through the documentation to make sure
you can pay for that house.
Yes. And we are your advocates, right? Like, we advocate for you. We gather the documentation to make sure it's going to answer the underwriter's questions, and we advocate for you. So that's like the beauty. That's, let's go back. That's why you pick somebody, not based on just their rates and fees, or is it easy to apply online with them? It is like your loan officer is your advocate. So do you know them? Do you trust them? Are they telling you the right things? Are they being transparent? That's what's important, because when it comes to underwriting, again, we're all about the
it's
same.
about having a team.
Yeah.
Because I thoroughly trust Ashley with my clients, because I know she's going to do the proper steps. Whereas, a lender out of the blue, I have no idea how they work or how they communicate, or most likely don't communicate. And that's hard too, because we need to have somebody that picks up the phone, answers our calls when we've got questions with, a buyer that's freaking out or whatever.
Yeah. And look, like, we don't have all the answers. So it's not about like knowing all the answers right away. It's about getting with somebody. And sometimes I have to say, like, I'm not sure, I'm going to have to get back to you. And some people are really afraid to say that. Like, I don't know the answer to that question.
But as long as the buyer knows that it's been addressed and somebody is looking into it, then it eases their mind.
Right.
Because this is a scary process.
Yeah. Me and Jen Stonecker, probably 6 or 8 months ago, we did like a whole video on like people's fear of buying a house. And as we like worked through it, it's like the fear of the unknown, right? If they don't know something, then it makes them scared. It's not the answer is going to yes or no. It's the fear of the unknown. So like getting the information to them is the best thing.
Yeah, and I tell my buyers that, it's not over until the fat lady sings. Mm-hmm. And what she's singing is these 3 beautiful words called clear to close.
And we've had a couple of those, right? Like, we've had to, work through it to the very end. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then lastly, it's like, okay, well, in closing, now what? And like, what should I expect? And we're going to talk a little bit in that about closing costs, because that's like this unknown myth. And one of the things that I find to be probably like the most inaccurate information online is closing costs. There used to be this general rule when I started doing this 12 years ago, like, closing cost is about $3,000. And then it was like about $5,000, right? And that's not totally true, right? Really depends on your situation, the house, all kinds of things. So we're going to dig a little bit into like closing costs specifically, so we can get some good information out there so you know what to expect. And then yeah, like I'm buying a house, then like what's next, what to expect at closing and whatnot, because
Right.
Louisiana works differently. We work differently than, let's say, Texas, which is right next door, right? So their closing process is different than ours. Yeah. So we're going to talk about what it's like to really buy a home at the closing table here in Louisiana. Awesome.
All right.
Anything else?
I think that pretty well covered it. So I can't wait to see what your videos are one at a time to really get in depth,
Yeah.
Further.
I appreciate it. So we're going to do it every Monday. We're going to go through how to pick your lender, the difference between being pre-qualified and pre-approved, how to make a really solid offer in this crazy real estate world we're living in. I'm under contract. Now what?
And we're also heading into the busiest part of the year.
Absolutely. And that was one of the reasons we were doing, like, this is home buying season. We see a lot of it in this and leading through the summer, because lots of people want to do their move over the summer. So this is like a time you really want to make it happen and really be educated. So we're going to talk about how to do that, how to make it happen, and how to buy a house this year. If you, I say this every time, if you are thinking about buying a house in the next year, reach out to our team. You can visit us at CompleteMortgageLA.com. Check out some information. Even if right now is not the time, but in the next year you're thinking about buying a house, this is the time to do it. Allow us to give you some options. If you're ready now, great. If you don't have anything to work on and we're still going to wait a year to buy a house, that's okay too. But if you have a hiccup, an income issue, a credit issue, and whatnot, we want to know that now, not when you have to buy a house. So please reach out to us here on Facebook, or visit us online, or give us a call. We're really looking forward to helping as many families as possible this year. We're off to a great start, and we want to just finish out this year strong. So thanks, everybody.